Okay, so today I am going to be doing a blitz critique hour, meaning I'm going to be taking a look at 3 pieces today as fast as I can. But before I get started, for those who are watching, if you don't know how to submit your work for critique, all you have to do is go to istebrak.com and click on the subreddit icon right here to submit your art for critique. So let's get started for today. I want to critique all 3 pieces. But I want to start with the ones that kind of relate to the same thing, which are 2 pieces here this one, and this one, that relate to the same thing, which is cinematic framing, meaning cinematography. But that's such a general term, really. What am I referring to specifically? It's just camera framing and camera angles. So right now here we have a medium shot. Which is just like, there's different ways to refer to it, but it just means that it's just a character whose body is visible from the midriff up or from the belly button up. And it's not a close-up, but it is a dialogue shot, meaning there's another character nearby that might be speaking. If both characters have a close-up shot like this, or a close-up shot like this, it means they're about to share secrets, they're about to start kissing, or about to, it's romantic. Both characters have extremely close-up shots, and especially shots like this, where we just have a lot of the character fill the scene up. So obviously we can't do that. This is a character that's in some kind of environment nearby. Whenever you have a character and an environment happening at the same time, meaning this isn't just a mountain range. This is a mountain range with a sneaky little dragon. I don't know what this dragon's doing, but he looks so sneaky and suspicious and up to something. He can have a frame all by himself, and it's so adorable what he's doing. Which doesn't match the scene at all, by the way. I love this dragon. He's so cute. But because there's a dragon in the background, sneaky little snake, we have to do something about her framing. Either get rid of the dragon and leave it as just a very romantic medium shot between a princess and her advisor, and they are just having a very heavy conversation about the fate of their nation. And you just get rid of the dragon. We can't get rid of the dragon because the artist wanted a dragon in the image. So how do we deal with this? We could give her a little bit more of a full body shot, meaning that we can do something with her figure and her, like the zoom of the character, so that she is actually a little bit more visible. So it's less of a personal shot. And this establishing shot in the background with the sneaky dragon, what happens is that it starts to match. We can see more of the environment, meaning we can see more of her. We're always trying to mimic what happens in the real world. If someone's right in front of your face, do you notice the background? Are you noticing the background? No, there's someone's right in front of your face. You're looking at them, especially if it's someone you like. So if someone's right in front of your face, imagine they're right in front of your face. Are you trying to see their surrounding environment, or are you just looking at them? That's how movie making works. If someone is a little bit further than you, and you can see, like, by body shot, meaning that the periphery vision, it ends before their feet start. So by like a full body shot, obviously you see the whole body, but like a partial full body, or just like a 3/4 body, what you want to see is a little bit of the background, a little bit of the characters. So what we're looking at here is an example of that. It's a perfect example of this, which is why I'm jumping on this critique, because we barely get examples like this. And I teach based off opportunity. So what I want to do is shrink her body so that we get more of her in the center of the image. And then I'm going to do something about the sneaky, awkward dragon that does not match the environment at all. I'm going to add some fog. And I'm going to let the silhouette of the dragon slowly sliding in, which makes it feel like he would be less easy to notice. By this time, in One Piece how Chopper hides? Do you guys remember how Chopper hides in One Piece? He doesn't really hide, he does it in the opposite way. That's exactly how this little dragon is hiding. So I want to make him a little bit more elusive, almost like he's snuck into the background without us noticing. I don't think this is even a good idea at all. At all. At the very, at the very end, this is a really bad way to introduce a dragon. If it's her dragon, if it's like her dragon pet, why not make it flying around? Why make it the size of a mountain? This dragon is colossal. This dragon's size is beyond imagining. This dragon's size can eat a castle. Do you understand? Like a castle in the distance would be like this big. And this dragon can just floss his teeth with a castle. So this dragon's size is unbelievable. You have to think about the scale. So if they are her pet dragons, they would just be flying around somewhere, catching the light in the distance. Do you see what I'm saying? So you've got a lot of scale, and you've got a lot of camera issues. How do I fix these things? How do I make it so that these things, I know what to do with them when I want them in my illustration? You fix them by way of studying, and not studying anything. You study movies. You study movies that have the exact same genre you're trying to paint right now. Which are any movie where you have scale, fantastic scale like this in fantasy movies. That's what you're going to be studying. So give me a quick second to kind of make sense of this balcony right here. She doesn't seem alert. She doesn't seem alarmed. So I'm assuming it's like a, it's her pet. It's a dragon she knows. If it's not, and there's no story attached with this post on the subreddit, if it's not a dragon that she's familiar with, if it's not a dragon that she knows, and this dragon's just sneaking up on them, then we need some fog, some kind of atmospheric element to show that this is just the moment right before she looks over and realizes there's a giant, colossal, Yggdrasil-sized, Ouroboros, whatever sized dragon working its way towards her kingdom. There's some discrepancy there in the storytelling that you have to remedy ASAP if you want this illustration to succeed. So bear with me while I do the last little bits of this. So now that we have more of a more than medium shot, I guess it's not really a full body shot, it's just something in between. Hi Tara, how are you doing? Tara is my student from private tutoring, so I'm just trying to just make this balcony kind of match what you were going for, but I really recommend you look up a balcony. I feel like you're painting a balcony based off your memory of a balcony or the last time you saw one. Just look up a reference. Just go full architect mode. Forget about art, forget about curves, only think about lines for a little bit. It doesn't hurt to have a little bit of that in your skill. Just knowing how to use a line, just knowing how to map out perspective. Always study a little bit of architecture and perspective and just basic construction. It goes a long way to making your architecture in your paintings look less like anatomy. You guys do a lot of these really anatomical motions with your brush strokes when you're trying to paint like a house or something, and it shows. So this long shot right now, what's happening, it's combining with this with this establishing shot in the background. And what we want to do is, I just want to show you really quickly how awkward that dragon was. So sneaky. Such a sneaky little boy. She can't see me if I hide my face. If I hide my face, if I can't see them, they can't see me. It's just so freaking cute. It just looks like he's playing with her and she's ignoring him and she's not really noticing him. Do you know what I mean? But also it wasn't really cute because he was the size of a continent. So I'm just adding a little bit of extra, what's it called? Extra depth here in the background. Just a little bit of something, just to get the piece moving along. So let's talk about this. So before we add in any fog and any kind of dragon, let's discuss the environment. So we have her, and she is in an outdoor scene. Anytime we're outdoors, even if it's during a sunset, even if it's on a foggy day, even if it's on an overcast day, even if it's in the middle of winter, even if it's in Winterfell, we are going to have some kind of lightening of the background and darkening of the character. Oh, I'll deal with the hand in a minute. I'll add it. So right now what's happening is that the background seems like it's made out of some kind of material. The way to get rid of that really, really dry look in the backgrounds that you guys paint is to remember the background needs a certain kind of light and magnitude to the light. And it just needs to be brighter. It's a very fancy way of saying brightening the background is the way to make it look more realistic. So right now I am brightening the background. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, everything starts to just work. It's just insane. Right, all I'm doing is brightening the background. If there is a really long, some kind of shadow coming off this mountain, so I'm preserving my lasso here. If there is a really, oh shoes, I'm gonna lose my shoot. How do I do this? I guess I have to re-lasso. Oh, son of a bitch. Oh, you know what? You know what I can do? I know what to do to preserve the lasso. All right, so we're gonna do it like that. Now I have the lasso and I have the change. So what I want to do is just cast a quick shadow off this mountain range right there. Fine, that shadow has been addressed. And I also don't want to do that because it's the further we get in the distance, there's like this layer of fog. So I'm just darkening the upper half, darkening the far corner. And so we have this like change of the daytime. If this was supposed to be a nighttime scene, the only thing that'll save you is like a torch or a nearby interior light of some kind that'll brighten the scene up. Okay, so there's like a big party going on. She's not very happy about this party, but it needs to be there so that we can see the actress. All right, so I'm just throwing in some really, really general lighting. You can see how dark it was before. Either you do this or you do this. You can't just darken the scene just like that because it'll mean that there's some kind of like there's some kind of nighttime, but also at the same time we can see her character. It just looks like bad lighting, bad setup. It's just so dark. So what I think is that the wintry one I think looks the best because it's just letting whatever was happening with the dragon happen. But these are the composition changes you were asking about. So the original artist said, I need help with composition. So this is it. These are the issues I think that you weren't thinking about instinctively, because you can't have an instinct about something you don't know about when it comes to art. You sometimes do have an instinct based off exposure, meaning like you've seen so many faces, you know how to paint them. But if you exposed yourself to enough cinematography, enough film language and movie making lingo, you start to have a sense for when they're happening in your work. And then from there, you grow an instinct for them, like a visual instinct that you're just like, yeah, something's missing. I feel like I'm seeing too much of this character. I feel like we're too close up. Something's not matching. You start to pick up on all of these changes really, really quickly. And all of a sudden, you just start painting better illustrations by, just on the first try, on the second try, on the third try. You start making better and better pieces. Instead of on the 10th or 15th attempt, you've hammered away at this art, you still don't seem to understand what's missing or what's keeping it from looking its best. So studying film helps you pick up on all these film opportunities that you have to make something look more cinematic. So one more thing I'm gonna do is, yeah, I guess Photoshop is glitching, is show you that you do need a little bit of rim light, not rim light, but it's just a little bit of the daylight out here on her character anywhere, just so it makes a little bit of sense what's happening with her. Right, so I'm just adding a little bit of that environment. Now that we've brightened it, some of it will hang out on her character, just a touch of it, just to combine her with her environment. A little bit more of that light maybe hanging out on the stone or marble or whatever it is of the balcony. So I'm just trying to show where the shine is on this surface. And then I'll think about where the dragon is. Honestly, after this point, you should rethink the dragon. If it was her playful little dragon, you need to think about the scale. That was a really, really intense size for a dragon. So if it was a dragon that was sneaking up on the kingdom and she had no idea and she was just about to see it and warn the guards or something, then we want to show how the dragon is like, if it really is that size and it's like a dragon that was sent to kill people and destroy the nation. So like this is where the claws would be of the dragon, and this would be like the dragon kind of with its wing kind of ready to sneak in. And what I would do is I would add some fog to make it a little bit more of a give me a second. I end up drawing a cat over here. What dragon horns look like, and do they have ears like this? I don't know what a dragon ears look like, man. I don't know. And then there's like the other wing right there. So it looks so bad. It looks so bad because this dragon is so huge. It's just hard for the viewer to swallow this truth, you know, like it's not possible. So if it was an onslaught of like an army of dragons, or there was a dragon, the scale, you've thrown the scale off. You've made her either look like as tiny as a puppet or even tinier, or this is just like God tier scale. Like a human being would just be like, you wouldn't even see a human being from this distance. You'd see like a dot. You wouldn't even be able to see them. Remember, a castle looks like, you know, it looks like a little pimple on the side of a mountain this big. So remember that the scale is a huge thing. What I think you should do, if it's just her, if it's just like a derivative of Daenerys as a character, I think you should just have some dragons flying around. There's 3. All right, Drogon, Viserion, and I forget what the other one's name is. All right. See that? Easy. It's over. And then the dragon that's in the shadow gets a bit more light, so he's visible, and the dragons that are in the light get mostly shadow. They kind of look like seagulls, so let me just like do something. All right. That's what I feel like would look good. So these are just some opportunities to show you the power of movie making, of how movie makers have faced the same questions you've faced and have answered them. And the answer that they have used for this kind of dilemma in scale and framing and character and storytelling, the answer they've come up with is the same answer you use. You can one-to-one copy what happens in movies. One-to-one. No one owns composition. Write that back to me. You can't plagiarize composition because there's only so much we get to have. And there's only so many ways to place a character in a square canvas and in a rectangular canvas that it's free for all. Everybody can have it. It's public domain. Composition cannot be copyrighted. because it's about staging. It's a stage and characters are on the stage, and no one owns composition. So look at movies by, like, it's just the best thing to do if you want to be a full-scale illustrator like this. You do movie still studies. It's what I assign to all my students. It's what I study. It's what everybody should study if they want to tell stories. It's what comic book artists study. It's what manga artists study. It's just what you have to do. It's part of the storytelling. There's only so many placements, scales, sizes, lighting, camera angle, high and low, zooms that you can do before you just run out of options, and everything else is just a combination of one or two or three at a time to tell the best story. Study good movies, not just more like Marvel movies or anything like that. Study good movies. And there's so many amazing people on YouTube who make these tutorials for you. That they talk about movies, and they talk about the way composition works in movie making, and the best frames, and why this scene is amazing. So watch those. It's not wasted time. So before, kind of an awkward close-up. The dragon was extremely awkward, was not working. And then after, it feels more open. It feels like a scene you studied out of a movie. And this is how close you are to getting it figured out. There's a lot of other stuff you could do to this scene to make it more beautiful. You could make the sky more purple and pink. You can make the environment feel a lot more like a beautiful sunrise. It's really as simple as finding two colors you feel like are visible in a sunset or sunrise, putting it on color mode, getting the soft brush, and lowering the opacity a bit and drawing one ring there, and then getting another color that's like warm or orangey and drawing another ring there, and that's it. That's a sunrise for you. And then you could, if you wanted to, get pure yellow on a normal layer and just add a bit of that glare, like pure yellow white, and just add a bit of that glare in the background. And now you have all this extra color if you feel like you lost some color. It doesn't take a lot of work. It just takes a little bit of study. And that's what I did. And that's why I'm aware I have that visual instinct. Hey, man, we're looking a little too close at her for such a long shot that's combined with an establishing shot. But anyway, if you want to take your audience breath away, start studying movies. And then for this one, so this is really similar. So this looks like a comic book cover of some kind. So right off the bat, what I'm going to do is select every glass pane or whatever it's called. And what is it called? Glass panel. And I am going to darken the whole thing. But I'm going to delete away at what I feel like needs the light. This scene is so overexposed and a little bit kind of like synthwave. Do you know what I mean by synthwave colors? It just feels a little bit like it's kind of like you're trying a retro color palette, which is fine because I'm going to keep that background, those retro wave colors. But what I don't want to see is how you have combated all of these on the same level. So you need to decide, what's happening in this scene. So I'm going to select inverse, preserve the lasso as much as I can, darken it, and saturate. Put it on darken, duplicate it, put it on color, lower the opacity of both. But in the opposite direction, I'm going to get that red, that really, really nice red, and hike it all the way up. And I'm going to, it looks like they're in a haunted house of some kind. Oopsie. I'm going to really expand on its presence for the outside. Okay, so already it's looking a bit more atmospheric. Then you see this color movement. I'm going to borrow that. And I'm going to decide like which area is getting more light than which other area. So to create some gradient, some transition. And I'm going to maybe darken the upper half. I know there's curtains there. I can't tell if they're the inside or the outside of the house. I guess they're on the inside. They're on the outside of the house. And then upon doing that, now I can decide how much of the old colors I'm showing. It was so much exposure, it didn't make much sense. So what you want to do is tell the story with the lighting, which is a standard in my classes. I'm always telling you guys about that. So the first change that I did was just a value drop. I want to bring it down. The second change that I made was a color correction, which is the color layer that I used on the same purple. Really, really easy trick. I use it a lot. Now what I'm going to do is go to before I did. So no, actually, you know what? I'm just going to, because I need to do the others as well. I'm going to get that same red and I'm going to try to borrow that red and use it on their character in a new layer. Just showing what I can. Even exaggerating the rim light if I have to. We can still see them, but now there's this like atmospheric storytelling. And I really cannot tell what's happening because I can't tell if they're being possessed, if they're scared. This guy seems like he's already in the juice and she's like, what is going on? I can't tell if they're high or if it's a courage the cowardly dog situation. I really cannot tell. But I'm using all of these like cinema tricks to tell this story right now, which is, yes, I've allowed the atmosphere to be built, but I've borrowed the atmosphere at the same time to tell a better story. So I'm using the red that is signifying the danger of the background on the two characters. If you're gonna do almost cell shading, if you're gonna preserve your lines, you have to start raising the bar somewhere else. You can't preserve your lines and ditch realism and do all this other stuff. You're losing on too many fronts. You have to say, okay, fine, I really don't want to spend my time learning how to render. I like my lines. I'm going to learn anatomy and I'm going to learn the rules of filmmaking. I'm going to study some films and see how they mess with lighting to boost their scenes. That way, if I have, you know, crummy rendering, or if I have not so great detailing, or if, you know, I don't want to work on all that, I can still boost my art in another way. So where one thing falls, you start boosting it in another way. And I'm really, really raising that rim light to pure opacity. I'm not doing any kind of gradients because I'm just kind of working with what you were doing here, except on the outside. So just a little bit of transition here and there, just to show how there's a texture change between skin and hair. So we're still using the same saturated colors, but we're not really, you know, we're not overdoing it. And then also now there's just this like, what is going on in the inside of that house. So there's that curiosity. And then I'm just going to get dodge tool on highlights. And I'm just going to try to mess with that a little bit more one more time. And then I'm going to do what I love to do, which is showing how that bloom happens and that light disperses. So before I do that, I'm just going to, what happened? Dodge tool, duplicate, paste, select, delete. Okay. Really can't tell what I even friggin' did. Doesn't matter. I'm going to, I don't know what just happened. Give me a minute. Okay, so that was it. All right, so it worked. I'm going to get my soft brush and I'm going to just create that bloom effect. It's very slight, but what it will do is it'll complete that kind of bloody feeling and that synth wavy color effect. So this may be an intense change for you. This may be something you don't want. This may be a little bit too dark, but I want to show you the extreme so that you can move toward it. Even if you don't go for all of this, I can show you a degree of it. So this is where it was before. It kind of felt like the color palette of Magic School Bus, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't scared. And then after, even if you cut it down to this much, we still have to kind of desaturate the background a little bit because they were just too intense. But even if you just bring it down to like this level, it's still an improvement. The Weeknd standing behind the window. Do you guys see what I'm saying? So there is a lot to benefit from studying movies and studying how scenes are framed in movies and how they're built in movies that you can bring back even if you don't want to be a realism specialist. Even if you want to preserve your lines for the sake of your comic books, you can still really, really boost your illustrations if you think about your art this way as a combination of your art and film. And there's no such thing as art that is going to lose quality because you included a fundamental. It only goes up. The less fundamentals you have, the less quality you have. So if you're going to be including a fundamental, you're gonna benefit somewhere down the line. Some value is going to be added to your work, and one fundamental is composition. And the best place, the best well to go for a composition is movie making, films, really good films. And they show you what scale means, what it really means, and how to use it in your images. They show you how light tells the story, because there's people far more professional than me or you who have spent their life mastering how to frame characters. They are masters of composition. They don't draw. They're not even the guy holding the camera. They're the guy deciding who's standing in the frame and how much we're zooming in and why that's the best thing for the image. And it's not always the director. And they are behind these big movies. They're the reason why these movies look amazing. Sometimes, most of the time, it's the director, because the director goes out of their way to learn these things as well. But most of the time, sometimes it's not. Most of the time, it's the director. And that's why you find like Wes Anderson's composition style is so familiar movie to movie. Study movies, guys. And then I'm just going to close that. So this one is very different, but I want to talk about it anyway. It's a quick gesture sketch. So what I want to do is just really, really quickly get rid of the hands, the arms, and right. So I got rid of them, and now I'm gonna get rid of the head. All right. So as we get rid of these sections, you start to notice something. This looks like a very boy-like body and very underaged because of this torso size. Almost looks like an 8-year-old's body. Do you see that? Very underage bodies type. And then you add the head in, and the head is so gigantic, it looks even more like a child. And then you add the arms in, which feel very small for the head. I can't really tell what you're doing with the H. So anatomy isn't just about studying perspective and studying how to draw a hand or a foot or something like that. It's about studying the size of the features age to age as they kind of change from male to female and change in tropes from athletic male to not so athletic male, etc., etc. So there's like a whole spectrum you have to follow in order for the head size to make sense to the body type. Like, we get it if the head size is a little bigger for a nerdy character with a thinner neckline. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to watch movies. Honestly, also watching movies helps you understand tropes better, and what to use for what trope. So this guy's saying, I'll give 100 gold coins for anyone that comes with me to slay this dragon. Who's brave enough to hear and come along with me. That's what it feels like he's boasting. He's boasting something. And so what I want to do is show that his chest is very proud, and I want to show that his leg is a little bit more, you know, bigger than that. And so before, do you see what I'm saying? after, it's not so much trying to make him bigger. I'm just trying to make his sizes match each other. And I'm trying to make his chest feel very, very proud and full of air because he's yelling. Have you ever yelled? Your chest kind of starts poking out because you're filling it with air for all the screaming you're doing. And so this guy's yelling at the top of his lungs, asking knights to come with him in this bar, or shots all around, or drinks are on me, or something. He seems like a cocky guy. So before, after. So now that I kind of made his body type on the torso level match the energy, now I feel like the head will match. But the neck is still a little bit too thick. It's not really working. So what I'm going to try to do is from a distance, like try to get his neck to make sense. I also need to lower the head, so I'm not really positioning the head exactly where I want. And then there's his mouth. When you're yelling or laughing, the mouth gets closer to the nose. Oh Jesus, what just happened? The mouth gets closer to the nose. What's going on? What's going on? What is this? Okay. What's happening? Let's see what's happening here. All right, whatever. We'll deal with it. We'll go with the roll with the punches. So the mouth was a little bit low before because what's happening is that you kept the mouth low, but he was also yelling. Do you see that? That doesn't work. He's yelling. Smile right now. Everybody smile. Your mouth and your nose come closer together. He's kind of going like, wah. You know what I'm saying? So you want to fix that. And then there's the edge of the chin. When we tilt our heads, we don't see that jawline as much as we would if we had seen it from like a direct 3/4 view. Do you see what I'm saying now? So he can still have a very strong jawline. It just doesn't work when you have it as if it's directly headed on the camera and that's an overlap edge. And this arm is holding like some kind of bag. So he's boasting the bag, right? He's boasting this bag of gold. And in the other arm, he's kind of like saying, hey, come, and he's doing the gesture. So the item is in one hand and the thing is in the other hand. Now that we've kind of raised the arms up and we've raised the shoulders up, what happens is that it seems to make a little bit more sense now. But with this arm, I want to kind of make the arms uneven, just so it feels a little bit more like he isn't exactly doing a perfect kind of like Jesus pose or something like that. It's not too symmetrical. Symmetrical makes things look really, really holy and really divine and really like he's it's why, you know, these priests are always having these really symmetrical poses, and they're very refined and very symmetrical and whatever, symmetrical. So what I want to do here is just show a little bit less like he's giving a sermon and more like he is just boasting his bag of gold. Come and, you know, come here and come with me to slay the dragon and win yourself this much gold. So I'm just putting the cape back around his shoulder, and I'm just putting a little brooch type thing and letting it kind of sit here. And then as for this cape, I feel like the cape is, this whatever it is, I feel like it's just a little bit too heroic. He's just in a tavern. This is just a little bit too flamboyant, but again, if that's what this scene is all about, then that's okay. So one more thing is that the perspective of this arm feels really weird, really, really weird. So because I don't have time, I can't really draw it for you, but what you need to do is show how this other arm, the elbow, is in front of the forearm. And then he's like, anybody want to join me? Ha ha ha. So that's, I feel like this kind of gesture, again, the elbow and the forearm are in front of the other arm. So we wouldn't be seeing like this awkward T shape, even though we are seeing a rotation in the symmetry line of the torso. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like saying, this is the torso, this is the arm behind the torso, but this one is also behind the torso. How? You rotated the torso. If it was front view, then with a big piece of armor, yes, they would be behind the torso if the torso was really sticking out. It doesn't make much sense. You forgot to rotate the holes of the torso after you rotated the, meaning that the elbow sticks out now in front of the forearm. Okay, so so I hope that was helpful. Let's take a look at the before and after, just so you can see how awkward those proportions were. So before, he looked very much like a little person, like a dwarf. It's just because his head size was so small compared, it's because his head size was so large compared to his body, which was infantile. Is that the word? His torso was just like a child's torso, but his jawline was the jawline of a middle-aged man. It didn't work. It was disproportionate. So before, after, oops, I forgot to get rid of my, forgot to get rid of my symmetry line, my bad. So you see now we've matched the size of the torso to the size of the head. We've rotated the arm, and then for this one, just to show that this arm is behind, all you gotta do is just show any line, anything at all, to show that this torso is in front of this arm. And it looks more proportionate like that. Obviously the mouth, it was showing like he's very aged. Okay, so let me do a quick experiment in the 10 minutes I have left. All right, so this is a character, right? All I'm gonna do to this character is lower the mouth. Looks a little bit older, right? That, you didn't stop there. You added that. And then you added that. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why it looked older. So if you had just raised the mouth up, for instance, of this little emoji, it would have just looked like either a young character with lots of scars and convenient spots that make them look older, or it's just a sweeter, prettier old person. Do you guys see what I'm saying? So lowering the mouth too far away from the nose is very powerful in art. You automatically, instantly add like 50 years to the character's age. It's just, those are the rules. I didn't make them up. They are how people respond, because these are the symbols we carry from the real world. And these are how animators and artists from the past built these fundamentals in their usage. No, not built them. They noticed them in the real world, and then they made them animation and cartooning law, sort of. But not because they made it up. Not because they were there first to make it up. No, because that's just how it works. As you age, you get laugh lines. As you age, your mouth sags away from your nose. And so your nose and your mouth grow a big distance between them. And that's how you can kind of pick up on people being 30 or 40 or 50. It's these small little changes. So it's not just about nose jobs. It's also about like bringing the mouth closer to the lips that are sagging, closer to the nose as well. It helps keep the face looking young. So that's it for today. I covered a lot of stuff. I covered 2 types of cinematic situations by use of lighting, and this one's mostly framing, this one's mostly lighting, and this one's all about gesture, proportion, anatomy. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. To submit your work for critique, all you have to do is go to istebrak.com and click on the subreddit icon right here. I will see you guys next week. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.